Hi guys, so I'm going to continue with the study, and as you can see from my prior videos, I just went through this uptrend A to Z with all the behaviors, and now what we want to do is cover the downtrend. Why? Because that's the next part of the study. If you're following this course with me, just listen to this video, then go read the course and just follow along. I'm going to go through the whole course, and then eventually get to the part where the position sheet, sectors, trend barometer. So it'll be constructed. So you'll have everything you need to support you during the course, which is something I wish I had, but no one out there was really doing this, probably because they don't know how to, and keep touting some bullshit phase A, B, C, D with too many trend lines. So what you want to do is forget all that and focus on the original course and the original material, structure it using the position sheets and all of that, and then execute the process that he mentions. So all of that's going to be done. The reason why I'm doing this, A, it helps me learn as well, and B, I really wish this was available to me, but anyway. So here we go. So I've covered the uptrend. Before I continued with the downtrend, understand how this terminated. Uptrends, the reason you want to understand how this terminated is because all the other trends you see, even intraday, I can show you again and again and again, they terminate the same way. They terminate the same way, but they look a little bit different, but it's the same principle again and again. Like you say, about 5, 6 out of 10 trends will have these characteristics. Even on an intraday basis, intraday, daily, I can show plenty of examples. Anyway, so you want to, why? Because this game doesn't change. You have to buy low and sell high to make money. I mean, there's no way around that. All right, and someone has to buy when you're selling up high, and someone has to sell when you're buying down low. The forces that control the market are still buying and selling. There's just those two. So there's no third factor. There's no third force. I don't want to sound like that, but anyway, that's the point. So you will see the same thing over and over again. And that's why, because those forces of buying and selling are the same, and there is no other way to make money except buy low, sell high, and I'm not talking about time decay from options, but because of that, this is why the same thing happens on intraday trends that you see on daily charts. And I will actually show how applicable these studies are. Otherwise, I wouldn't be going through it. So whatever you see here, you can apply directly on daily and intraday charts. It's to the point where he even says you can apply this on intraday charts. And Wyckoff says that in one of the footnotes. Anyway, without further ado, how does this terminate? You have a buying climax right up here. As you can see, this terminates with the biggest volume right here that you see. And then what happens? Next day, there's no follow through, and you want to look at the closes. They take out the prior 2 days close. So this sharp bar up here is unable to hold the next day. The lack of follow-through is indicative of distribution. It doesn't mean all of the distribution occurs there, but this is evidence that distribution is occurring when you have such high volume on a day which upthrusts into a new high like that and is immediately followed by not only a lack of progress, but progress that takes out the net gain over the past 2 days. That behavior in itself is evidence of distribution because it cannot hold, okay? And then the key here is this piece right here. Why is this bar big? It has wide range. The reason why the ranges are big is because the buy orders have been pulled from the market. So why are ranges big? Why are spread big? Why is it big? It's because you have buying and selling at every level, right? So if you take away those buy orders, what happens? The selling falls right down to the next buy order. It gaps down or falls down all the way until it finds buy orders. So when you have this type of big bar, it means that those buy orders have been pulled from the market. When they're pulled from the market, the chart will print a bar that has wide range. So the sell orders are there, but the buy orders have been removed at these levels, and that's why the ranges expand. Other thing to note is look at the volume. The volume increases here. So someone will say, oh, this is not very high volume, it's not a breakout. That's bullshit. Because almost you see all the time breakouts, they require an increase in volume. They do not require exceptionally high volume. So remember that. There's a big difference between volume increasing versus very high volume. This volume increased from the prior interval, and the range increased from the prior interval. And it took out this pivot low right here, up here on this bar, the low. So it broke that with an increase in volume and range. So it broke that pivot low, which has two higher lows on both sides. So this is actually a sign of a breakdown. Now, why is this breakdown relevant? It is relevant because you have a climax in the background as well as a change of behavior. Why is this a change of behavior? It is a change of behavior because the red volume, the selling volume, the red bar or whatever, this is bigger than prior pullbacks. Prior pullbacks did not have volume that is this high. They had volume which is much less. So on this red bar, you have much higher volume than the rest. It is to the point that this red bar has the biggest volume than any red bar in the entire uptrend. So that is why it's a change in behavior. The behavior being pullback volume and going from low volume pullback to a high volume pullback on the biggest volume on the down bar within that entire uptrend makes it a change of behavior. Why else is it a change of behavior? Why else is it relevant? It's relevant because it occurs right after a climax. What does that mean when you have a climax and a change of behavior together? This is a key question because they two kind of work hand in hand. What it means is the strong hands of the CM sells on the way up until he cannot sell anymore on the way up, so he sells on the way down. So he's selling a shitload on the way up is the climax, and then he has to sell on the way down because it's been filled. All the orders, it's not going any higher because the buyers are not willing to support higher prices, are not willing to buy higher prices. So he has no choice but to sell on the way down. He's selling on the way up and selling on the way down. This behavior needs to occur together. So when you see a climax, a buying or a selling climax, look immediately for a change of behavior. What that represents is he's selling on the way up and selling on the way down. Same case over here. He's selling on the way down, right? And then buying on the way up. So this case is a selling climax followed by a change of behavior, bullish change of behavior. This case is a buying climax followed by a bearish change of behavior. All it means is they're selling on the way up and selling on the way down, and here selling on the way down and then buying on the way up, establishing their positions. So key points that selling on the way up, selling on the way down, it's very important that they occur together. Also, it also means like they're getting out and reversing the position, okay? Now, will that lead to an immediate downtrend or an immediate change in trend? This type of behavior, you want to see it being followed by a breakdown, okay? Why? Because it means those supporting orders have been withdrawn. All right, now what does that mean? It means that whoever's in the know, whoever knows, they're pulling their orders. They're pulling their orders, and as you can see, here's the same behavior. What happens is you have the selling climax, then you have the bullish change of behavior. It goes up, and where are the sell orders pulled? The sell orders are pulled right at resistance, and that is why you have this breakout here. This expansion in range and slight increase in volume is indication that the sell orders have been pulled from the market. And that is why even on a little bit of volume, which is still increasing, you're able to make significant price progress. That concept is ease of movement, and it is in the form of a breakout here. And this is ease of movement in the form of a breakdown here. So again, you have a climax, 1. 2, you have a change of behavior. And 3, you have a ease of movement breakdown or breakout, whatever you want to call it. Here, climax, change of behavior, followed by a breakout or with ease of movement, meaning it's a big range. Right here, what does that represent? The sell orders have been removed from the market. And here, it means that the fucking buy orders are gone. So when you have these 3 characteristics together, it breaks the trend. That's how trends break. Okay? That's very important to him. And these are not my words. He calls this the bar that breaks the trends back. The bar that breaks the uptrend, because we are in an uptrend. This is the bar that breaks the uptrends back. This here is the bar that breaks, using the same logic, breaks the downtrends back. Okay? So what are some mistakes and pitfalls people make? They see a climax. You see this all with these teachers online. I don't know what the fuck they're teaching, but they say, oh yeah, trends terminate with a climax. You need more than a climax. It cannot just be a climax, you know, so you hear, oh, climax, secondary test, etc., etc. But what you hear Wyckoff say is it was a climax, a change of behavior, and the bar that breaks the trends back. It was those 3 pieces of data, those 3 behaviors together that break the trend. Here, he says, it's the climax, the change of behavior, and here, the higher high, meaning the breakout that makes the higher high over the resistance level. And what he says about that is that it means you can potentially have a significant uptrend, meaning the market can go significantly higher. Okay? So over here, he called it a higher high and said about it that you can have a significant uptrend. Over here, he called it the bar that breaks the back of the trend, and that's it. So I call it the backbreaker, but it's basically a breakout with both a climax and a change of behavior in the background. Now it's important that you focus on these 3 characteristics and be careful by all the shit that you see on the internet, because it's not Wyckoff. Like, you will see startling difference between what's, at least I have, you know, what's being taught online versus his own words. So focus on the course, and that's it. So anyway, so that's where we're at. The key point is for you to remember for trend breaks is those 3: climax, change in behavior, breakout, climax, change in behavior, breakout. Okay, breakout above resistance, breakdown below support. Once that occurs, it is probable that the trend has broken and a new trend is underway. All right, now other thing I want to mention is this first pullback here after the climax and change of behavior was a springboard, right? Very important to mention. Like, I don't really see a springboard. It's not here yet because they didn't have that first pullback, you know. If it was a first pullback there, it would be different. So what is the importance about springboards? And I'm going to go into this in depth because there's like a number of references on springboards in later videos. This is probably the most, probably second or third most important behavior. How do you know this is a springboard and it's going to fucking launch? You know because the key indication was lack of net progress. So for this piece, you want to take a look at the closes of the bar. As you see this 1, 2, and 3 close, it's not doing anything. There's no net progress. Net progress is the key. There's no net progress, which is an indication of what? Of a lack of selling pressure. This place is where you can take a position also. This fucking cat. Anyway, this place here is where you can take a position because the net progress is zilch. There is no net progress. It's having a hard time going down because the closes are not making any net progress. That is one indication of a springboard here. The second indication is what is it? Low volume. Volume that is waning or tapering off. As you can see, this volume versus that volume is obviously less. So that volume you want to focus on. Why? Because it is an indication that also supporting the hypothesis that the selling pressure is waning. So the two indications you see are lack of net progress, A, and B, tapering volume or low volume, meaning the volume is decreasing, aka low volume pullback. Okay? 1 second. All right. You might hear the cat in the background. I don't know what the... Anyway, so... Alright, so I'm going to continue now. Like, make sure you understand those, whatever I talked about. And here it says, stated another way, our reasoning that partway recovery would be a novel development, but the big fellows would be anxious to run the market back to February tops. Only in the event they saw an opportunity of pushing prices far enough above those former highs to realize a profit on the offering they would have to take from the buyers who are hung up with stocks at these prices. Well, that means after this breakdown right here on this bar, this wave goes down. So what are you going to expect? Obviously, you expect a pullback. Where do you expect the pullback to go? You will have a partway recovery, and he talks about like a halfway back move somewhere over here. Why do you expect a halfway back move? Because these guys are trapped on the climax. So do you think that the market will let them come out even, break even? Obviously not. But there is a situation where it will let them come out break even. And why is that? It will only let them come out break even if the CM thinks he can absorb all of this climax volume and take the market much higher. So if you have a climax, right, and you have a pullback after it, chances are the retracement, the pullback, what am I saying? If you have a climax and then you have a rally down, the pullback after that rally, right here, will not go to the climax. So basically, it would stop above the climax. Why will it not come to the climax? Because the chances of it going, it will have to let those guys come out break even. And what that means is someone's going to need to absorb all that climax, all those trap buyers. So the only situation that is going to happen is if they can run it much higher. They can run it much higher in order to realize a profit. Now, is there an example that you see that already? You see it here. On this rally, you have a climax. This is a minor climax, a minor buying climax. You have a pullback here. Now, will this rally after this pullback, the rally that's about to come, go to the climax? Chances are it won't. It will only do that if that volume can be absorbed, which is what you see right here, in order to go up higher, significantly higher. Okay, this is why these climax bars and climax tops is so important, because if the price is going up there, it means that they would have to break through it, and the only way you can break through it is absorb all those trapped buyers. So you see that example right here where it's being absorbed. Why is it being absorbed? For a much higher objective, price objective, which occurs here. In the case that you see here, it's not going up there. Why? Because they don't want to absorb all the volume. If it did go up there, you would see something like this behavior here. Why? Because you have to absorb all these trapped buyers up here and then go a whole lot higher, like 2 waves higher or 3 waves higher, to realize a profit. Here in this case, they're not willing to go up that high. The reason is they're not willing to absorb. Why are they not willing to absorb? Because they're not willing to take it much higher. That's why. You know, the market very likely will go down instead of going up because it's not going to that area and absorbing it. Instead, what these guys have done is they've sold and taken short positions. The evidence of that is the distribution in this climax right here, the earlier distribution here, and this rally, pullback, the pullback on, the down pullback or whatever, it's unable to come up here. Why is it unable to come up here? Because they want to hold their positions. This is where not only are there trapped buyers, but who sold it to the trapped buyers? Obviously the CM. So he doesn't want to screw his own position. So that's why the pullbacks are going to this halfway back area and will not let these guys out because the CM established this position. Only way price is going to go up is he wants to absorb it, and then if he absorbs it, he's going to take it much higher, because the game is buy low, sell high, and relatively speaking, this has to be considered a buy low area, and it has to go much higher to realize a profit. So that's this whole shit right here that's, talking about. Anyway, so even should they see such an opportunity to go higher, it is much likely that they would prefer first to tire out or shake out. So tire out is time manipulation, which means they just go sideways and sideways and sideways and tire out the people, or shake them out, means there has to be a stop run. So the stops would be like, the worst case is probably down here below this absorption area. So just do a shakeout. So you got to tire out or shake out this overhanging supply. However, we reason further that in view of the extent of the distribution as indicated by the heavy volume, the extent of the distribution. So what describes the extent of the distribution? Like, there's minor distribution, right, or preliminary distribution. So how do you quantify the amount of distribution? You quantify it as indicated by the heavy volume and breadth of the February campaign. The greater the probability is that they will manage just enough recovery to discourage amateur shorts from selling and to keep the February buyers locked in, while they at the same time distribute more on the rallies. So the point is, all this volume is trapped up here. So there's a direct correlation with the amount of trapped volume and distribution. Not my words, it's his words. Extent of the distribution as indicated by the heavy volume. There you go. So a lot of folks will also just see the point and figure blocks, say, okay, this is a big base. This means a lot of distribution. And that's fine if you're looking at that. I'll go through point figure later, but as you can clearly see, you have to use a bar chart also, because the bar chart will have volume, which indicates the extent of the distribution also, not just a big block of X's and O's. It's the bar chart with the amount of volume that's trapped, which aids you in determining the extent of the distribution. All right, so that's all for today. I'm on 7M page 14. And so just go through what I've gone through. And if you have any comments, just post them. All right, take care, guys. Bye.